What if one of the greatest films ever made almost didn't make it to the finish line? A movie where the director suffered a heart attack during production. The Red Sea was created using Jell-O, and the baby playing Moses wasn't an actor at all, but Charlton Heston's real-life son. This is the untold story of the Ten Commandments from 1956, a film so enormous, so bold, and so plagued behind the scenes that it permanently changed Hollywood. These are 20 shocking facts you've probably never heard before. Let's get started. Number 20. When Cecil B. DeMille decided to remake his own 1923 film, he wasn't aiming for big, he was aiming for biblical. The budget exploded to $13 million, which would be more than $140 million today, making it the most expensive movie Hollywood had ever produced at the time. He constructed massive, full-scale Egyptian temples, outfitted thousands of extras in handmade costumes, and even built an entire city of Ramesses in the desert. Many studios thought he had lost his mind, but the risk paid off and made cinematic history. Number 19. When the Ten Commandments finally premiered, it was far more than a standard movie release, it was a cultural phenomenon. The film earned an incredible $65 million during its initial run, equal to over $700 million today. That placed it among the highest-grossing films of all time, a distinction it held for many years. Families waited in long lines, churches booked entire theaters, and Paramount continued re-releasing the film for decades. Even now, millions still watch it on television every Easter. This wasn't just a box office success, it became a lasting tradition. And if a movie released in 1956 can keep audiences engaged for nearly 70 years, then this video deserves a few more minutes of your time. So go ahead, tap the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Just like DeMille promised audiences back then, I promise you the best is still ahead. Number 18. This production was anything but ordinary. Filming stretched over 2 years, combining massive desert shoots in Egypt with soundstage work in Hollywood. Crews faced brutal heat, sandstorms, and constant reshoots. Some sequences, including the parting of the Red Sea, took 6 months on their own to complete. For everyone involved, this wasn't simply making a movie, it felt like constructing an ancient civilization from the ground up. Number 17. Most people slow down in their mid-70s, but Cecil B. DeMille was not most people. At age 75, he was the oldest active director in Hollywood, and instead of retiring, he chose the most ambitious project of his life. Every day on set, he stood in the Egyptian desert wearing a full suit and tie, shouting instructions through a megaphone to hundreds of extras despite the scorching heat. His work ethic became legendary. Crew members recalled him climbing steep dunes, standing for hours under the sun, and scrutinizing every take with extreme precision. He wasn't merely directing, he was commanding the production like a general leading an army. But that level of intensity came at a cost. His relentless pursuit of perfection nearly ended his life and led to one of the most dramatic moments ever witnessed behind the scenes of a film. Number 16. During one particularly exhausting desert shoot, disaster nearly struck. While coordinating a massive scene at Mount Sinai, DeMille suddenly collapsed. Doctors confirmed he had suffered a heart attack. At 75 years old, stranded in the middle of the Egyptian desert, most would have walked away for good. Medical staff urged him to rest, and the studio feared the entire production would shut down. Yet just 2 days later, DeMille returned to the set. Weak but unyielding, he sat in a chair with his megaphone and continued directing one of the largest films ever made. The cast and crew were stunned. His determination became a rallying symbol for everyone involved. If DeMille could survive a heart attack and keep going, then they could push forward too. In Hollywood legend, this moment lives on, the image of an aging director refusing to let even death stop him from completing his masterpiece. Number 15. The most iconic moment in the Ten Commandments is undoubtedly the parting of the Red Sea. In 1956, audiences watched in awe as towering walls of water opened to allow Moses and his people to pass. The scene felt miraculous. Yet the technique behind it was surprisingly simple. Special effects expert John P. Fulton relied on giant water tanks, slow-motion cameras, And Jell-O, yes, the dessert. To create the illusion, Fulton filmed massive tanks of water being released and then reversed the footage so it appeared as though the water was pulling itself apart. But to give the water body and weight before it crashed down, he needed a substance that flowed slowly and held its shape. That's where Jell-O came in. He tested colored gelatin sheets in thickened water, layering them onto glass panels and enhancing them with strategic lighting to make everything shimmer like liquid. When combined with hand-painted matte backgrounds and optical printing, the result became one of the most breathtaking visual effects ever achieved at the time. Even decades later, long after CGI took over Hollywood, film historians still rank the Red Sea sequence as one of the greatest special effects shots ever put on screen. Number 14. When most people think of Moses, they immediately hear the deep, commanding voice of Charlton H. His powerful delivery gave the film its gravity. Interestingly, his voice was so strong that sound engineers struggled to record it properly. During rehearsals, his voice frequently overwhelmed the microphones, forcing technicians to constantly adjust audio levels, especially during the famous "Let My People Go" line. But Charlton H. didn't just sound like a prophet, he looked like one. His rugged features, broad build, and intense gaze made him the perfect Moses. Viewers even wrote to Paramount, saying it felt as though he was born for the role. Charlton H. embraced that legacy, and years later he admitted, "Playing Moses didn't just change my career, it changed me." Number 13. One of the most emotional moments in the Ten Commandments wasn't acting at all. Moses' mother, Jochebed, was played by Charlton H.'s real-life wife, Lydia Clark, and the baby she places into the basket on the Nile, that wasn't a prop, that was their real infant son, Fraser H. So when you watch that scene, you're not seeing a performance, you're watching a real family on screen together. That authenticity gave the moment an emotional weight audiences could feel, even if they never knew why. And years later, that baby would grow up to become a director himself, working in Hollywood just like his father. Number 12. Ramesses II was brought to life by the powerful and charismatic Yul Brynner, fresh off his Broadway triumph in The King and I. With his piercing stare, bald head, and commanding presence, he became the perfect rival to Charlton H.'s Moses. But behind the scenes, the tension was real. Brynner reportedly felt overshadowed by H.'s towering size and authority. Determined not to look small on camera, he trained obsessively and even requested specific camera angles to boost his presence during confrontations. Whether rivalry or motivation, it worked. The clash between them feels raw, intense, and authentic. Two larger-than-life figures locked in a battle of destiny. To this day, their performances define the ultimate hero versus villain dynamic. Number 11. The Exodus scene is pure spectacle. Most films would fake it, small crowds, clever editing, painted backgrounds. But not Deal. He wanted real scale. So he assembled over 8,000 extras, men, women, children, marching across the desert. Then he added more than 15,000 animals, camels, donkeys, horses, sheep, oxen. The logistics were chaos. People had to be fed, watered, and organized under brutal heat. Animal handlers worked non-stop to prevent disaster, and Deal, he stood above it all with a megaphone, commanding the scene like a biblical general. The result is unforgettable. An endless river of humanity moving toward freedom. No CGI. No digital tricks, just ambition on an epic scale. Number 10. Charlton H. brought authority, Yul Brynner brought intimidation, but Anne Baxter brought fire. As Nefertiti, she delivered raw passion, wide eyes, trembling voice, emotions turned up to 11. Some critics said it was too much, too theatrical, too dramatic. But that's exactly what Deal wanted. Subtlety had no place here. Every glare, every whisper, every cry was meant to hit the back row of the theater. Over time, Baxter's performance became legendary, admired, debated, and unforgettable. Love it or laugh at it, Nefertiti left a mark. Number 9. Deal's heart attack didn't just happen behind the scenes, it's immortalized in the film itself. During the brutal Mount Sinai shoot, Deal collapsed, but refused to stop filming. The scene nearly killed him was the very moment Moses ascends the mountain to receive the Ten Commandments. So when you watch those sweeping shots, remember this: the man demanding perfection was directing through crippling chest pain. It's poetic, DeMille climbing his own Mount Sinai, pushing his body to the edge just as Moses pushed his people toward the promised land. When filming ended, the cast agreed, this wasn't just his masterpiece, it was his final will. Number 8. Few people realize how close this movie came to collapse. The budget exploded, the logistics were overwhelming, and DeMille's health was failing. Paramount executives considered pulling the plug, cut the script, remove entire sequences, scale it down. DeMille refused. He told them, either we do this right, or we don't do it at all. That iron will paid off. The risks that terrified the studio became the film's greatest strengths. Instead of failing, the 10 Commandments saved Paramount and sealed DeMille's legacy forever. Number 7. Those stone tablets Moses carries, they weren't fake. No wood and no plaster, real stone. Each one weighed over 50 pounds. Charlton H. lifted them repeatedly under blazing lights while delivering powerful speeches. The crew joked he didn't build his physique in the gym, he built it carrying his tablets. And it shows, that weight gives every movement gravity. Moses doesn't just hold the law, he bears it. Number 6 uncovers one of the most bizarre and quietly discussed stories tied to the film's production. Determined to make the movie feel as authentic as possible, DeMille demanded that the sets be inspired by real Egyptian artifacts. However, rumors soon emerged that some of these items were not replicas at all. According to behind-the-scenes stories, several props, including jewelry, statues, and ceremonial objects, were believed to be genuine antiquities smuggled out of Egypt. Some were allegedly taken from local excavation sites and never returned. These claims gave rise to unsettling rumors of a curse. Crew members later spoke of strange shadows appearing during night shoots, sudden accidents, and mysterious illnesses with no clear explanation. Although none of these events were ever confirmed, whispers that the film had been influenced by ancient spirits lingered for decades, adding an eerie mystique to a production already rooted in legend and history. Number 5 highlights one of the film's most iconic and mystical scenes, Moses standing before the burning bush. According to the Bible, the bush burns but is never consumed, and translating that miracle to the screen required something truly extraordinary for 1956 audiences. The filmmakers achieved this through a blend of practical effects and innovative visual techniques. The prop team constructed a bush using metal and fire-resistant materials, embedding hidden gas lines to create controlled flames. The fire was carefully positioned to hover just above the leaves, giving the illusion that the bush remained unharmed. The final touch came during post-production, where optical printing and layered exposures caused the flames to glow with unnatural colors, making them appear almost alive. The result stunned audiences, and even today, the burning bush remains one of classic Hollywood's most haunting and beautiful visual effects. Number 4 addresses the film's unexpected journey at the Academy Awards. With its massive scale and technical achievements, many assumed the 10 Commandments would dominate the Oscars. Instead, it earned 7 nominations, including Best Picture, Best Color Cinematography, and Best Art Direction, but won only one award for Best Visual Effects. That single win was certainly deserved, as scenes like the parting of the Red Sea, the burning bush, and the golden calf were revolutionary at the time. Still, many fans and critics were shocked by the limited recognition. Some believed DeMille's age, established reputation, and traditional filmmaking style worked against him during a period when Hollywood was moving toward newer creative trends. Ultimately, none of that mattered. Audiences embraced the film as a masterpiece, and its massive box office success became its true reward. Number 3 takes us back to one of the film's most touching moments, the opening scene with baby Moses floating down the Nile. That infant was not a hired actor but Charlton Heston's real-life son, Fraser Heston. Surprisingly, the decision was completely unplanned. Paramount originally intended to cast a baby actor, but insurance issues, scheduling complications, and the unpredictability of working with infants made it impractical. DeMille then suggested Heston use his own child, and Heston agreed. As a result, Fraser, just a few months old at the time, became the on-screen Moses. Years later, Fraser would jokingly say his acting career began at the very top of Mount Sinai, leaving nowhere to go but down. Number 2 delivers a clever fact with a modern comparison. In many ways, the Ten Commandments functioned as the clickbait of its era. DeMille himself appears at the start of the film, stepping in front of the curtain to speak directly to the audience. He explains the story, its significance, and why it deserves their attention. It was his personal way of saying, "Stay with me, this is worth watching." Number 1 reveals the most meaningful fact of all: The Ten Commandments was Cecil B. DeMille's final film. After decades of shaping Hollywood with epic productions like Samson and Delilah and The Greatest Show on Earth, DeMille poured all of his experience, passion, and ambition into this project. At the premiere, he stood before the audience physically weak but emotionally victorious, fully aware that this film would define his legacy. He passed away just a few years later in 1959, but the movie endured. Even today, The Ten Commandments airs every Easter weekend, attracting millions of viewers. It has become more than a film, it is a tradition and a cultural landmark etched into cinematic history. As a bonus, many fans are unaware that the 1956 version of The Ten Commandments was not DeMille's first attempt at the story. More than 3 decades earlier, in 1923, he released a silent version of the film. That earlier adaptation was structured very differently. Moses appeared only in the opening act, while the remainder of the movie shifted to modern times, following 2 brothers, one who lived by the commandments and one who ignored them. The film blended biblical storytelling with a contemporary moral lesson, serving as both drama and warning. To recreate ancient Egypt in 1923, DeMille constructed enormous sets in the California desert, complete with massive temples, towering statues, and gigantic gates. The scale was so overwhelming that the site became known as the City of Pharaoh. When filming concluded, DeMille faced a dilemma: what to do with an entire city built from plaster and wood. His answer was extreme: he ordered the sets buried beneath the sand so no other filmmakers could reuse them. For decades, the lost city of DeMille remained hidden beneath the desert like a forgotten archaeological site. In the 1980s, archaeologists and film historians began excavating the dunes near Guadalupe, California. What they uncovered was astonishing: enormous plaster sphinxes, pieces of temple walls, and vividly painted hieroglyphics. Slowly, a lost chapter of film history resurfaced. Today, parts of the 1923 set are preserved in museums and archives, standing as reminders of Hollywood's early obsession with size, ambition, and spectacle. When DeMille returned to the Ten Commandments in 1956, he wasn't simply revisiting an old idea, he was trying to surpass himself. The buried city in California lingered like a ghost, driving him to create something even grander and more unforgettable. In the end, DeMille left behind 2 monumental films, one buried in sand and nearly lost to time, and another that continues to live on every Easter across screens worldwide. So there you have it, remarkable behind-the-scenes facts about the Ten Commandments. From rumored smuggled artifacts and ancient curses to Red Seas made of Jell-O and a director working through failing health, this film represents far more than entertainment. It is a testament to determination, imagination, and sheer ambition. The next time you watch it, remember that every frame was crafted by countless artists and technicians who refused to let budget limits, harsh conditions, or even mortality stand in their way. Just like Moses on Mount Sinai, the most powerful stories are the ones passed down from generation to generation.